friends, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to episode 9 of my Clear the Cart TBR series. This is gonna be my September wrap-up, letting you know what I read in the month of September, if I completed my September TBR. But before we get into it, I just have to show you guys. Okay, can you see this? The TBR cart. Let me back up so you can see the whole thing. It is almost empty. We have a completely empty top shelf, and I actually just added the last book to the cart yesterday because it got delivered. So these are officially all the rest of the books that I have to read in 2024, plus these ones up here. This is my October TBR. But let me just tell you, seeing this has motivated me so much. Adding that last book to the TBR cart yesterday, that was the motivation that I needed, okay? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm fading a little bit when it comes to the Clear the Cart TBR challenge. If you are new and you have no idea what I'm doing, in June, I decided to take it upon myself to clear my TBR cart by the end of the year. I started with 60 books on there, and that includes books that I had pre-ordered for 2024, so I've been adding the pre-orders as they come in, and that was the last pre-order. And it's been a wild ride, okay? Because I've had some reading slumps come up. I have books on that cart that honestly I'm just not that excited to read, but I am a woman of my word and I like to keep promises that I make to myself. So I am on a mission to clear that cart by the end of the year, and I'm gonna make it happen, okay? So I'm gonna start off by sharing my September stats. I will pop them up on the screen, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even know what they are. I'm going to figure them out when I edit this video. So you know what my stats are right now, but I don't know what my stats are right now, but that's okay. So that is a look at my September stats. Now let's take a look at the books that I was supposed to read in the month of September, AKA my September TBR. So here's a look. These are the books that I was supposed to read, and here are the books that I actually read. So as you can see, I didn't totally complete my September TBR. The Hobbit got me. I am like 8 chapters in, so I did start it, I just didn't finish it. But I have a couple books on there that were not on my September TBR. 2 of them were on the TBR cart, so I was able to get those cleared off the cart even though they weren't on my September TBR. And then one was a nonfiction book that I read throughout the month of September too. Honestly, I'm really proud of the reading that I got done in September, even though I didn't finish my TBR because we had the hurricane come through and that threw us for a loop for a couple days here in Tampa. And then also, it is my busy season for work. If you guys watched my last video, you know that we launched our 2025 planner collection. I own a company called Hustle Sanely, and the launch was incredible. Thank you to those of you who shopped and purchased a journal and or 2025 planner. Love you. Thank you. Appreciate you. So my life was very, very full in September, but I still was able to read a ton, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm really excited to chat with you about the books that I read in September. But we're gonna do things a little bit different because I have found that these videos, my wrap-up videos, they are so long. I just chat and I'm like, okay, girly, we have got to turn it down a bit. So instead of me chatting for like 35 or 40 minutes, we're gonna do a challenge within a challenge. We're already doing the Clear the Cart TBR challenge together, but now I am challenging myself to talk about each book in a minute or less. I'm gonna be setting a timer on my phone before I talk about each book in this pile, and I'm gonna try to tell you what the book is about and my thoughts in a minute or less. And I have to stop talking when the timer goes off. I think this is gonna be harder for me than the TBR Clear the Cart challenge, if I'm being honest. So there are 9 books that I'm gonna be talking about that I read in the month of September, and I'm gonna be doing each one in a minute or less, whether I like it or not. Okay, so let me get a timer pulled up on my phone. I have it for, can you even see that? I don't know, for 1 minute. So before I start talking about any of the books, I'm gonna hit go, and we're gonna do this. I feel like this is gonna make my anxiety just creep up, but it's gonna be okay. All right, so let me hit the timer. 1 minute. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to talk about is Gilmore Girls, I Love You, You Idiot. I gave this book 3 stars. Now, this is the 4th and final one of these. I've already read the other 3, and like the other ones, they're a fun, good time because I am a huge Gilmore Girls fan, but I don't really think that anybody needs to read them because they feel like you're reading the script of the show. And when I mean script, I mean like like the detail is just lacking. They're very small. The banter from the show does not translate into the books. So it takes a few episodes from the show and compiles them into book form. And I didn't know this until I read this one, but all of the episodes that are covered in this book are typed up at the beginning. So learned that when I was reading this one. And then where are we at? Oh my gosh, I have 10 seconds. I will say I had fun reading this one because I'm currently doing my yearly rewatch of Gilmore Girls. So love that for me. I have like 3 seconds to spare. Starting off strong, but that's gonna be hard to do for all the other books. Okay, so got this one out of the way. My heart is racing, you guys. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Okay, next book that we're gonna talk about is Daydream by Hannah Grace. Let me hit my little timer. I actually gave this book 5 stars. The way that I did not expect to give this book 5 stars is kind of crazy. So I liked book 1 in the series, didn't like book 2 in the series, and I absolutely love this one. Favorite one in the series by far. It's less spicy than the other 2, and the spice that is in this one, I feel like it was purposeful. So I appreciated it more than I did in the other 2 books. So this one is about Hallie and Henry, and they feel like soulmates to me. This book is sweet love. Like, it is just so pure, so sweet. If you like wholesome romance, you'll probably really enjoy this one. And it's so cute because Henry, he's on the hockey team. He ends up getting tutored by Hallie because he accidentally crashes her book club. We love. So cute, so cute. And let me just say, the dedication in this book made me cry. Like, I was crying before I even started the book, so I knew it was gonna be a good one, but I just felt like Hannah Grace did such a good job at making us feel like Henry and Hallie were real people. Like, I did not feel like I was reading about characters. I felt like I was reading about real people. And I guess I'm done talking about it now. One thing I'm gonna add, I'm cheating, I know, but the found family in this one, because it's book 3, top tier. I loved that so much. And I'm not a tabber, I'm not an annotator. And look at this. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. So that is Daydream by Hannah Grace. And I know I cheated. I went a little bit over, but I did my best, okay? Okay, the next book we're gonna talk about is Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the last book of the Natural series. So let me hit my timer. I did not like this one as much as I liked book 3. I felt like this one was messy and a little bit chaotic and more unorganized feeling than the other books in the series. However, I did have a lot of fun because I'm very attached to the characters at this point. If you've never heard of this series, it's kind of like a YA Criminal Minds is what people say. So we are solving cases with these kids who are a part of the FBI. But the reason, like, this one just felt very, very out there to me. Like, I read a review on Goodreads and they were like, the last like 10-20%, like, I know what I read, but like, do I know what I read? Like, it was kind of just a little bit too twisty and too out there. Like, I feel like she went off the rails, maybe because it was the end of the series and she was trying to go out with a bang, but it kind of just like confused me and I was just like, what the heck is going on? So didn't enjoy this one as much, but I still gave it 4 stars. So I had a good time and I'm definitely gonna miss reading about these characters, but this one, like I said, it just felt a little bit messy. Time's up. You guys, this is stressful. Like, I feel like I'm sweating. I feel like wrap-ups are already kind of stressful. Like, trying to remember what all these books are even about is already hard enough for me. And then trying to condense my thoughts into a minute, I'm just like, why did I put myself in this situation? I don't know, but we're gonna stick to the challenge and we're gonna keep going. Okay, next up is Redeeming 6 by Chloe Walsh. Now, this is book 4 in the Boys of Tommen series, so it's pretty far into the series, AKA I'm gonna talk about it as much as I can, but I'm not gonna give spoilers, so I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to say, but let me set my timer. So I ended up giving this one 4.25 stars. The beginning was so tough for me to get through. I feel like it was just dragging on, but the last little bit really picked up and I was crying. I was in it. Like, I don't want to give any spoilers, so it's hard, but I was mad. It felt so real and so raw. Like, it was heartbreaking. Check the trigger warnings before you go into this series. Now, I was more attached to Johnny and Shannon, so I liked Binding and Keeping 13 a little bit better than Saving and Redeeming 6, which is Joey's point of view from the Binding and Keeping 13 stories. So this one's about Joey and Aoife. I think that's how you say his girlfriend's name. And let me just say, I'm very mad that she did not get mental health support. Like, very mad. But the moms in this, Amazing. Absolutely love them. So I loved Johnny's mom, I loved Aoife's mom, and I loved Nanny so much. And if I could give them a hug, I absolutely would. And I guess that's all I have to say about it. Okay, next up, we are gonna talk about The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. Let me set my timer. I gave this one 4 stars. I had such a good time. I read this so fast. I was so into it. It's magical realism. This is my first book that I ever read by her, and I'm so excited to read others. Her writing is very just whimsical and magical feeling. So a lot of people say this feels like Willy Wonka. Totally get that vibe. It's about an author who is writing the last book in a very beloved series, but he's only writing 1 copy of the book, and he has people come to this place called Clock Island, which is also where the books take place, and it's where he lives, to compete to win the only copy of this book. Like, it was just so fun. I was very invested. The games did feel a little bit boring to me, like lackluster, I will say that. And the biggest thing that bothered me about this book is the relationship between a student and a teacher. She wanted to adopt this student and like had a loving relationship for him, like as her son, but it just felt weird to me. Maybe because the school setting, like it just felt off. And maybe it's because I used to be a teacher and I was like, I would never do that with one of my students because I would get fired. I don't know. She was like hugging on him. He was sitting in her lap and like, I don't know. It just felt weird. But like I said, maybe it's because I was a teacher and I was like, I know these things are a no-no. So anyway, I know I overshot on the timer with this one too, but I had to complete that thought. I could not leave that thought hanging. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, 4 star, had such a great time, would highly, highly recommend. Next up, we are talking about Business Casual by BK Borson. This is book 4, right? Yeah, in the Love Light Farm series. I feel like I read a lot of book 4s. Book 4, book 4, book 4. I did not realize that until right now. That is kind of weird. Yeah, that's wild. So, okay, let me start my timer. So I gave this one a 3.5. I had a good time, not a great time. This is one of those books, as I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is cute, this is fun, whatever. But when I closed the book, like I wasn't thinking about it for 1 second. So it is about our 2 main characters, Nova and Charlie. And Nova is opening a tattoo studio, which I loved that storyline. Like watching her do that was really rad. She is the sister of, what is his name? Beckett from earlier on in the series. The found family in this is my favorite part, like by far. That's why I gave it a 3.5 stars because they remind me so much of Stars Hollow, the people in this book, but I just wasn't bought into the romance. I feel like the chemistry was like lackluster. I don't know, it felt very physical and not like emotionally, no emotional connection. And I need emotional connection. And if you're reading a romance book and you're not into the romance, are you really having that good of a time? You know what I mean? So that was my big qualm with this one. I liked the characters individually, but I didn't like them together as a couple. And I guess that's all I'm gonna say about it. Okay, next up is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I think that's how you say her name. This is gonna be so hard to talk about in a minute or less. Like, I don't even know if I could do it, but we're gonna set the timer and I'm gonna try. So I gave this one a 4.25. I had such a good time reading it and I did not expect to. I've been putting this off, but it was so much fun. People have said that it's like Hunger Games, but with vampires, and I can totally see that. And I feel like if you mixed ACOTAR and Hunger Games, it's like this. Like the romance in this reminded me of Reese and Feyre quite a bit. Like it just gave me the same vibes. I absolutely loved Araya. So Araya, I think that's how you say her name. She's the main female character. She's actually human and she is kind of like taken in by these vampires and she competes in this like Hunger Games-esque type of event with vampires. But let me just tell you, she is strong and she is not like, woe is me because I'm a human and they're vampires. Like she doesn't care. She goes in and I absolutely loved it. This is my first book by this author and her writing style is so easy to follow. The scenes are just so vivid. I felt like I was watching a movie and you better believe the ending, my jaw was on the freaking floor. The last 20%, I guess that's all I'm gonna say. But let me just add in, I did buy the second book to read next year because that ending. Next up, we have The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie. Every time I say this title, I'm like, wait, isn't June Farrow the author? I don't know why my brain keeps doing that, but let me hit go on our timer here. So this was my book club's pick for the month of September and I ended up giving it 4 stars. So the biggest thing for me is it has to do with time travel and my brain was just in knots. my brain was very confused. Talking through it with the book club girlies helped a lot, but that was my biggest, I guess, letdown with this one, was just feeling confused. However, this is my first book by this author, and her writing style is so captivating. Like, even though I was confused, I was still very invested in the story and very emotionally attached to the characters. The way that she writes kind of a little bit reminds me of Kristen Hanna. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I was just so into the story, and I really loved how this kind of touched on topics like breaking generational curses and even a little bit of religious trauma, in my opinion. And so reading this, I love that there was like murder mystery, time travel, like there was just a lot going on, and like it's impossible to get bored when you're reading this, but just be prepared to really, really use your brain if you go into this one. Okay, and our last book that we're gonna be talking about is Raising Mentally Strong Kids by Daniel G. Amen and Charles Fay. I don't even think I'm gonna need a minute to talk about this one, but we'll set the timer. So this is the nonfiction book that I read in the month of September, and it's a parenting book, as I'm sure you gathered from the title. I have an almost 2-year-old, and the little like thing at the bottom says how to combine the power of neuroscience with love and logic to grow confident, kind, responsible, and resilient children and young adults. I feel like the beginning of this book, I got a lot of good takeaways, like the neuroscience part. I love neuroscience, so I loved reading about little kids' brains, but the end, it just felt a little bit repetitive, and I kind of skimmed the end. Like once I got to like the examples and stuff, I was like, okay. But I will say the beginning, very, very worth the read if you're a parent. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that one. So I saved 18 seconds. So those are the books that I read in the month of September. And here is a look at my overall progress for my Clear the Cart TBR challenge. I have less than 3 months. I have a little bit less than 3 months left to clear the TBR cart and read all of these books by the end of 2024. I'm feeling confident, y'all. I am feeling confident. So if you want to see if I can clear the TBR cart by the end of the year, make sure you subscribe, and we're almost there. Like, we are almost there. We've been in this together since June. So thank you guys so much for cheering me on and keeping me motivated to clear the cart, because I'm gonna be honest, I was feeling a reading slump creeping up in September. But talking to you guys in the comments helped me to just like keep my eyes on the prize and remember that reading is fun. I'm allowed to DNF books if I'm not enjoying them. I haven't hit that point yet. I haven't had to DNF any on the cart. But anyway, I love you guys so much. I appreciate you, and I hope you have the best day ever.